Democratic socialism does not work, cannot work for the same reasons Friedrich Hayek described many years ago. Democracy is like an operating system. One would not judge Windows or Apple OS on moral or ethical grounds. The customer chooses to use a particular system because it is in line with their interests. A hardcore gamer is probably going to use a PC, a hipster, an Apple. From the perspective of the individual, there is a practical element. Two could quarrel until the cows came home, and do so on a regular basis in the public sector simply because their paycheck is guaranteed. This is one of the great failings of the free market sector, where an individual or a handful of job insecure individuals representing capitalism are routinely defeated in the battle of PR by an army of well organised, persistent, experienced, job secure public sector workers, unions, and political and social opportunists. The net result being the taste is left in the mouth of the casual observer simply because of numerical superiority that capitalism, free market is bad and socialism, communism is good. The obvious question that pops up here is that since all have opted to live in a democracy, it should follow the most people who are most vocal about their values should be catered for. I disagree simply because history proves the majority can be just as tyrannical as the individual. Remember, the majority thought the world was flat, that the earth was at the centre of the universe, etc. Hence the importance of free speech, or more accurately, the right to be critical of the majority. These minorities, who are historically rarely celebrated in their own lifetime, are moral and ethical buffer zones to the majority. They are an integral part of a functioning democracy. One who understands the simple dynamics of a modern Western democracy should be bored reading this. The onus is upon the minority. It is hard to rival the majority, but ethical. It is depressing, but moral. It is the minority's job to bear the burden, carry the cross. However, one should not despair because it has the ultimate weapon at its disposal: logic, reason, evidence, and the scientific method. 2,000 years ago in Roman Britain, the one golden rule to follow if organising a revolt was never meet them in open battle. Attack supply lines, trade, engage in guerrilla warfare, but never engage in open battle. Even if you did engage and were victorious, it would be short-lived, as now you are a known quantity and the necessary reinforcements would be sent to secure your defeat at a later date. Boadicea was probably the most famous victim of this discipline. The Romans knew their weaknesses and they knew their strengths. They were brilliant at forcing their opponents to deal with their strong hand rather than weak. It is important to remember that when Rome eventually crumbled, it did so from the inside out, when they forgot these simple yet effective principles. 2 millennia later, the minorities of many Western countries have to relearn these tactics if we are to sway the majority. The snake has a head, and these individuals have devised a very effective campaign of marginalising anyone who disagrees with the majority, not out of brilliance, but out of sheer necessity, because they themselves know they simply cannot win a debate based on evidence, reason, and logic. Our job, as the minorities, is to force them into a debate where every win strengthens our position and every loss our resolve. It is here and only here that we can cover ground and make gain, which brings me back to the original argument. Democratic socialism cannot work simply because they are diametrically opposed. Socialism, by its very nature, has to crush all opposition to secure its existence. It is progressive and if left unchecked will eventually rout a free market democracy, or as I describe it, a free democracy. Most socialists are proud to cite or refer to Karl Marx as an influence. Most capitalists have never heard of Adam Smith. This has to change. Smith holds the moral high ground. He advocated building a society around the human condition, the USA. Karl Marx advocated building a society to change the human condition, USSR. As you can see, the Cold War had an intellectual depth rather than being just a mere construct devised by capitalists. America is the leader of the free world, Rome if you like. Its constitution is not compatible with a European-style welfare state. The Democrats are trying to dismantle it already, the Second Amendment being the most famous. More recently, free press has come under attack. There is a very real possibility at the time of writing this that a child born in America today will die in the USSR.